Hey everybody, it's your Uncle Bear. So, one of the things that we really need to work on as drivers is professionalism and get back to the camaraderie we used to have out here. Um, this is going to sound racist. It's really not. It has nothing to do with race, but I had an encounter with someone I'm assuming had a last name like Singh or Hussein. I don't know. Anyway, so I go to my delivery. I'm there every week, same place. I deliver to the same place every single week. So I get there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Place opens at 9. And when I say the place opens, I mean that's when the security guard starts checking people in through the gate. Well, there's room for one truck to park right at the guard shack, camp out there overnight. The others just need to show up in the morning and park in the center turning lane on the street. Well, the other day I got there at 5 o'clock. There was another truck coming from facing the other direction. He's waiting in the center turning lane. Okay, he's ahead of me. So I parked facing him, and there was another truck already in at the guard shack, which I figured there would be. It's Monday morning. So anyway, by the time they started letting people in, there were probably 6 trucks behind me and another 3 or 4 behind him. So there was pretty good number of trucks waiting to get in. Anyway, so the security guard, he starts somewhere between 8:40 and 9 o'clock. Sometimes it's right at 9. Sometimes, if there's a bunch of trucks out on the street, he'll go ahead and start letting people in. So anyway, he checks in the guy that camped out at the guard shack. The guy lets him roll through. Well, the guy across from me, I'm looking over there, and he's not in the driver's seat. I don't know where the hell he is. Anyway, I'm like, people are waiting to, pull in there. So I pulled in. I hear it behind me. I hear an air horn. He's raising holy hell, And anyway, you snooze, you lose, and it's not a big deal. And I'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, he comes running up alongside my truck, and he tells the security guard, he says, I was before him, and the other guy was there, but he said, I was next. He said, I should have been next. And the guy said, okay. He said, I'll check you in now. And he says, give me your ID. The guy says, well, it's out in the truck. Go get it. And he looks at me, and the security guard grins at me, and he says, by the time he goes and gets it, he could have just waited. I said, I know. Anyway, so he comes back up there and gives the security guard his driver's license, and the security guard says, bring your truck up now. He says I got him checked in. He said, you need to go get your truck now. Anyway, so we get back to the receiving docks, and he comes wheeling back there 100 miles an hour, Anyway, I get out, and I'm back there talking to the driver that had camped out at the guard shack. I'd seen him there a couple times before, so we knew each other. And anyway, I told the guy, I said, you know what? I said, I didn't see you anywhere. I said, there's guys waiting to pull in here. I said, everybody's camped out in the middle of the street. I said, it's a busy street. I said, we all got to get loaded or unloaded, whatever the case is, for each individual today. And anyway, I said, that door is not going to open till 9 o'clock. I said, the security guard let us in early just to get us off the street. I said, but that guy, he's not going to open that door till 9 o'clock sharp. And I said, and it doesn't matter what order he takes your stuff. If if your stuff is the stuff that he needs to put on a trailer or store in their warehouse at that moment, then that's what he does. If not, he'll send you to the back lot. But I said, it has no bearing on who got here first. And I said, and you raising hell like that, I said, all that does is make you look like a dumbass. Anyway, short story long, the receiving guy comes out, and the guy that was camped out at the guard shack, he's Hispanic, and he explained to him in Spanish what was going on. And anyway, the receiving guy just kind of chuckled. And anyway, he put the guy into a door. He basically, what they do is they park us in front of a door, and then they come out and they take a picture of the seal being intact and our reefer temperatures and stuff like that. Anyway, so he put the guy in front of a door, he put me in front of a door, and he put the other guy in front of a door, And anyway, so yeah, the guy went running out, to get his truck and get it positioned in front of the possibly the worst door they have, because it's just a pain in the ass to back into. It's tight. And anyway, he was still waiting when I left to get unloaded. I was empty and leaving, and he was still in the door. Because he acted like a child, basically. So, being professional and just, ask the other drivers that are there, hey, what do they do at this place? How do they run how do they work things here? Because, like I say, it didn't do that guy any good. And when the receiving guy came out, he was sitting there telling the receiving guy, oh, that guy's first, and then it's me, I'm second, and then pointing at me, and when he pointed at me, I said, go ahead and point that finger at me one more time, see what happens. Anyway, we need to, like I say, the camaraderie's got to be back, and yes, people like that, we need to get out of the industry. We need to get people out of the industry. And I don't mean because of his name or anything like that. I mean because he's a dumbass and because he's not professional. We all got a job to do. We all got basically the same job to do. We do it to the best of our ability. Getting in a hurry, getting in a big hurry to get stuff done like that. Yes, we all want to get unloaded and reloaded, in a timely fashion, but not at the cost of just being totally disrespectful to our colleagues. Somebody said to me said something to me the other day about when the day it happened. They said, wow, that really sucks. That they. And I said, you know what? That guy doesn't bother me. He really doesn't. I could give two shits because it's so commonplace now. And I'll sleep just fine because I knew he was in the wrong. So, anyway, it is what it is. You younger drivers, I hope you learn from this. When you go into a place, you go in and remember, whether you own the truck or somebody else owns the truck you drive, just remember, you're representing the company that you drive for. When you go in, comb your hair, unless you got my Berber and then you just wear a hat. But comb your hair, look presentable, be polite, be friendly. Make them laugh if you can, make them smile, That's what I do. I always try to make them smile. But when you go in there all cock-hard and raring to go, it does nobody any good. Just go in there, be, like I say, be polite, be professional. I usually start off with something, let's say I'm hauling a load of onions or something. I'll say, I heard you guys were out of onions, so I got some here as fast as I could, something like that. But remember, the people that are receiving, they have a job to do too. Some places hire somebody that just hates truck drivers. That does happen. I don't, for the life of me, I don't know why a person would take a job in a receiving position or a shipping position for that matter that hates truck drivers unless they just want to screw with truck drivers. That's possible, I guess. But well, as far as the drivers go, you just gotta work with each other, okay? And try and help each other. If you see somebody struggling to back up, I've seen drivers, chew out another driver for trying to help them back in someplace. Never turn down another set of eyes. Now, granted, keep in mind, it is always your responsibility, so don't rely solely on somebody guiding you in to a door, or a parking spot or whatever the case may be. If they seem trustworthy, go ahead. And if there's too many people out there guiding you, if you got one guy on each side of you, or one driver on each side of you guiding you in, okay, But if you got more than that, that's too many people, that you're taking direction from. So, yeah. But like I say, never turn down help, because we can all use an extra set of eyes. Have a great day, everybody. Be safe out there and be kind to one another. I'll talk soon.